What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Have At It. This is episode 99. My name is Ben Cornett. How is everybody doing today? It is Sunday, July 20th, and in exactly 10 days, I believe, we will once again have an NFL football game, albeit preseason. So what? It's the Hall of Fame game between the San Diego Chargers and who they? Oh, Detroit Lions. That's who it is. There you go. Lions and Chargers going to be playing on the Hall of Fame game in the preseason on Thursday, July 31st. So I cannot wait for that. Anyway, how's everybody doing out there? If you're watching right now, I am on YouTube at Ben Cornett 9015, as well as on Facebook in the Ben Zone Facebook app. Or if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, you can watch it on my personal page and on your timeline. So if you're watching, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate that. It's been a while. It's been since the 4th of July, I believe, that I last was on here talking to you guys. Had family in town for a couple weeks, so I wasn't able to get on live. I would have got on sooner, but I do apologize for that. But family's in town, so I gotta chill with them. And now I'm back. Got the place to myself. It's nice and quiet. So why don't we just catch up on what's been going on around the NFL? Because there has been a lot going on around the NFL, obviously. For starters, we just found out a couple days ago TJ Watt, the Steelers defensive end, got an extension on his contract, pretty hefty extension of 123 million for 3 years. That'll kick in after 2025, so he'll be with the Steelers till 2028. Um, it's not the only moves they've made recently. Obviously, they also traded for Timu Smith, tight end from Miami, and Jalen Ramsey, the corner from Miami, as well. In exchange, the Steelers gave up a seventh round pick and their safety Minka Fitzpatrick. Why don't we go get started with TJ Watt? Obviously, from TJ Watt's production with the Steelers, what he's done for that team, for that defense, without a doubt, he deserves it. But that's kind of always been the Steelers' philosophy. It's always been defense, the run game. They just haven't caught up with the times with today's current NFL. Now I understand defense is very important, no doubt about that. Nobody's arguing with that. It's just that you also have to, adjust with the times. This is an offensive league, and putting a lot of money into TJ is going to limit what you guys do, going forward. Now, yes, the NFL salary cap is going to keep rising up. More money's coming in, especially with the new TV deals coming in pretty soon. But you also just paid DK Metcalf. You traded for him, sign and trade. It's getting like 50 million. You brought in Aaron Rodgers, obviously. And these moves, I think, tell me that, when you get TJ, you get Jalen Ramsey, Timu Smith, which is interesting because you already got Pat Fryermuth. So I assume you're going to run a two tight end type of offense with Aaron Rodgers, one to block and then one to catch. This sounds like they're going all in this year. This is like the year for the Steelers that say, okay, it's Super Bowl or bust. Okay, but you haven't even won a playoff game since, I believe, 2016. So it's almost a decade since you guys won a playoff game, and you guys have just been to the playoffs only a handful of times since. And you've been floating around the 9-8, 10-7 river. Tomlin's never had a losing season. Understandable. Why you wouldn't let him go, but it's mediocre, especially when you're in the AFC North, one of the toughest divisions, if not the toughest division of all of the NFL. When you got a team like the Baltimore Ravens, who have pretty much ran that division the last several years, even Cincinnati's won that division as well. So I feel like the Steelers are just they're going to go all in this year. Um, they hope that Aaron Rodgers is going to turn this thing around. I have my doubts, but it's what happens after that. You know, yeah, you got TJ Watt, that's great. You got a great defensive player, but why would you trade for Jalen Ramsey, who you're actually going to have to inherit his contract from Miami, pay him more, and you lose a guy like Minka Fitzpatrick, who's now granted last year wasn't a great year. He's only had one interception the last couple years, so I kind of get it, but is Ramsey really an upgrade in the secondary? Not really. I mean, now you got a hole in that safety position in the box. You only got Deshaun Elliott and Juan Thornhill, who are, solid, decent role players in a defense, but they're not Minka. They're not superstar defensive players. So you're going to lose a little of that in the middle of the field. But for the Steelers, they wanted to take care of TJ. That's fine. I just think for the long term, not sure this is going to work out very well for him. Just my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. You know, alongside Jalen Ramsey, you got Darius Slay, who they just signed as well. So the Steelers do prioritize on defense, but again, it's an offensive league. And yes, you did make some moves. You got DK Metcalf. You did trade George Pickens to Dallas. Your only other receivers, Roman Wilson, Robert Woods, and Calvin Austin, who again, they're okay, but other than Metcalf, you don't really have another wide receiver threat. So, maybe Temu Smith comes in and becomes that, receiving threat for Aaron Rodgers. We'll see. And then in the backfield, you obviously got Jalen Warren, then you picked up Cordell Patterson. So the offense, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out for the Steelers. But, Pittsburgh getting their man TJ Watt secured for a while. Again, I understand it. It's a good move defensively, but what's going to happen beyond 2025? That's the question. Especially if the Steelers don't, not only go to a Super Bowl, but they don't win a playoff game. Now, I still look at this team like a 9-8 team. I still look at the Ravens as a 12-13 win team, and the Bengals. We'll get to them in a minute. Depending on how they do defensively, and their offense is great, and their offense can win them 7 or 8 games just by themselves. So I don't know. For the Steelers, it's going to be interesting to see how they do this upcoming season. If Rodgers can stay healthy, most important thing. Also, the fact that Rodgers didn't have a great year last year. Coming back from that ACL or the Achilles injury, maybe a new place to go, a new scenery, a new environment can help Aaron Rodgers reestablish himself somewhat to being what he once was, but I don't know. I have my doubts. So, speaking of the AFC North and the Bengals, Shamar Stewart, the rookie out of Texas A&M, still has not been signed yet, and training camps already started. Rookies have already reported. So, this is over contract language, with the guarantees, that the Bengals can void. It's something they're trying out with this year. It's more of a guinea pig kind of project. And Samar Stewart. This is not about for him money at all. Normally it is in these kind of situations, but it's more about the language of the contract, about the guarantees. If I wrote this right, language pertaining to future guarantees being voided, depending on if there's any issues, any violations of the rules, team rules. Just yesterday, second round pick Demetrius Knight, I believe his name is, yeah, for the Bengals. He signed his deal, So he's got like 75% of his bonus already kicked in. So he eventually signed. Now Shamar Stewart wants sort of the same contract language as Knight did, but he's not getting that from the Bengals. And it's just been quite a crap show this offseason for the Bengals. Not only that, but you have Trey Hendrickson, who's holding out, wants a new contract. Understandably so, because he's not only your best defensive player, but he's like one of the better defensive ends in football. And he's holding out as well. The Bengals did resign T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, to help Joe Burrow offensively. Get that. But again, with Hendrickson holding out, with Shamar Stewart not signing yet because of language in the deal, this is not good for this Bengals defense. What if you go into the season without Trey or Stewart? What are you going to do? I mean, you're going to have to score like 40 points a game offensively for the Bengals just to try to win most games. And that's realistically not going to work out because you got the Ravens who are great defensively. Believe you got to play the Lions this year. Yeah, the NFC North, which got some great defenses. Minnesota. Chicago has a pretty good defense. And Green Bay as well. I mean, like, how you going to get? You're going to have to win these offensive shootouts just to try and win 7 or 8 games. I mean, the Bengals can do that offensively, but every game's not going to be against bad defenses either. So they got to get this situated because you go into the season without your best defensive player, Trey Hendrickson, they're in trouble. They can get off to another rough start like they have the last couple of years. They always get off to these bad starts. And then, as you saw last year, it bit them in the ass because they ran out of time and couldn't get into the playoffs. So for the Bengals, they need to really step up, get something done. I mean, try to get one of these guys in here, if not both. Get Trey Hendrickson signed. Get Shamar Stewart to finally put, pen to paper and get this going because training camps have begun. They've already reported rookies and, veterans that'll be reporting as well. So this is now or never for Cincinnati, especially in a division when you got Baltimore and you got a team in Pittsburgh that I just mentioned that, is definitely a threat in that division. So, and then Cleveland, I mean, say all you want about their problems with their offense, their quarterback issue. Defensively, they got Myles Garrett. They still have a solid defense. So and the Bengals open up with the Browns. So, and the Browns have had their number recently. They've won most of these games against Cincinnati. So this is getting serious for this Bengals offense or defense, I should say. They could have another bad start, and looking at their schedule, it's going to be tough this year for sure. And yeah, offensively they're going to look great, but defensively, I don't know. I don't think so, especially if you don't have your top defensive guys in there. So we'll see how that plays out in Cincinnati. That's all I got on that. Also, just got some news today. Detroit Lions fans, Alex Loosemore, my good buddy out there. Shout out to him. Unfortunately, one of their defensive linemen, Levi, hope I say this right, Owazurke, the Lions defensive lineman. He is out for the year, the torn ACL. Dan Campbell just recently talked about that in the presser. That's tough because, as we all know, last year, Detroit, the injury bug just bit them big time. Aiden Hutchinson just coming back from a torn ACL. We saw that was gruesome in that game against Dallas, middle of the season. And the Lions just really never recovered defensively. Yes, they still played well, and they still were able to win enough games at the top seed in the NFC. But at the end of the day, it it didn't matter because they didn't have their best defensive player out there. Um, and he ran into a really hot Washington Commanders team. I know because they beat the Bucs the week before in the wild card round, and they just ran out of time. So, can you imagine if Detroit didn't have those injuries? If you had a fully healthy Hutchinson out there, I mean, you could have had a Lions Eagles NFC Championship game. Both defenses really good. That would have been quite the battle. Or you could have had a Rams Lions rematch in the playoffs because Rams were, you could argue, they were like 20 yards away from upsetting the Eagles in Philly in that divisional round. So who knows what could have happened there? I mean, Detroit. Now, granted, Detroit didn't play well. Washington was on a hot streak. Jared Goff didn't have a great game. He had those 5 turnovers. Um, but still, I mean, defensively, wouldn't it have been nice to see, Jaden Daniels go up against an Aiden Hutchinson, Aiden trying to get to Jaden Daniels? Who knows? I mean, it would have been very interesting to see, but we'll never know. Maybe we will this year if those teams meet up in the postseason. So big loss for Detroit, compounding the fact that they, had a lot of changes this offseason with coaching as well. Ben Johnson, offense coordinator, going to Chicago to be the head coach, trying to, you know, get Caleb Williams to be that franchise quarterback, help him out there. Got Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, who went to the New York Jets. See if you can try to revitalize that Jets franchise. Aaron Glenn played for the Jets back in the day, so a lot of changes for Detroit. It's going to be interesting to see how they function this year. NFC North is going to be a very tough division. Again, you got an improved Chicago team. Green Bay, you still got Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur, the head coach. You got Josh Jacobs, great running back. Defense is a little bit questionable since you let go of Zaire Alexander, who went to the Baltimore Ravens. Good pickup for them as well. So it'll be interesting to see what this Lions team does. I still think this is a team that can compete for a Super Bowl. It'll be interesting. Will it be like the Philly situation a few years ago where Philly went to the Super Bowl? Then the next year they lost Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, both offense and defense coordinators to other teams to be the head coach. And then Philly had a big collapse toward the end of the season, never got everything going right. The Bucs beat them in that wild card playoff round. Will it be that kind of situation, or will the Lions improve and get much better, both offensively and defensively? So we'll see how that plays out. But I'm looking forward to what they do this year. The Bucs play them as well on a Monday night, so can't wait to see that. Speaking of the Bucs, before we talk about the Buccaneers, let me get a comment in there. Christopher Cole from YouTube says, "Hey Ben, good afternoon, Christopher. How you doing, sir? Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate that." Speaking of Christopher Cole, my fellow Bucs fan, let's talk about it. The Bucs this year, as you know, and I'm wearing the hat right now. We're going with another throwback. Not We're going with the creamsicle still, but the Buccaneers revealed that they are going to be wearing their white and orange throwback jerseys this year. This is the first time they've worn these in a throwback game. First time they're wearing them, period, since before the Bucs changed their colors and everything back in 1996, I believe. So this is a big deal, but this is unique because the Buccaneers wore this jersey. It's a little bit different than the ones they would wear after 1976. I'll pull this up here and show you what they're going to look like. there they are right there. As you can see, those are the throwback jerseys the Bucs are going to wear. As you'll notice, those are the jerseys they wore in 1976. They do look a little different than the ones that they're going to be wearing that they wore later on. There'll be a lot more orange in the numbers. This one a little bit lighter, but they look spot on like they did in 76. Now, as you know, I was not alive in 1976. I was born in 1980. I didn't become a Bucks fan until 1997, but knowing their history and everything, there's groups in Facebook like Bucks Life, all that stuff. They do a great job of telling you the history of the Buccaneers. In fact, on YouTube, the Bucks are showing all their seasons leading up to their 50th anniversary season this year. The most recent video is the 2020 Super Bowl champion Buccaneers season, which was incredible. Um, just man, great times. Hopefully, we'll have another one of those this year. I mean, certainly have a shot at it. I mean, I think we're a very good team. Uh, but those are the jerseys. I'll show you one more time in case you missed it. There they are. That's what the Bucks are going to be wearing. Now, what's unique about all this is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be wearing these jerseys twice in 2 games this year. The first game, it'll be the home opener against the New York Jets. So they'll be wearing those jerseys. That's pretty cool. That's a nice touch, especially with the warm weather in Tampa, the humidity. They can wear their white jerseys with the orange font numbers. And then they're going to wear those jerseys a couple weeks later when they go to Seattle to play the Seahawks. Now, by the way, that game against the Jets will be on September 21st, their home opener. And then 2 weeks later, on October 5th, they will be going to Seattle to wear those jerseys as well. And the reason for that is because Tampa and Seattle, that was their expansion years, was 1976. So Seattle's also celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. The game will be in Seattle, and the Bucks will wear their white jerseys, and Seattle will wear their old school Seahawk blue jerseys, which are actually pretty cool. I used to have a Steve Largent one back in the day, back when in the early 2000s, a lot of rappers, hip hop artists would wear the throwback jerseys, the Mitchell and Ness stuff. So I got the Doug Williams throwback jersey. Now that's from 1982, so that's a little bit different than the ones we're seeing now. And speaking of that, Christopher Cole says I'll be getting my throwback soon. Absolutely, yeah. I'm gonna get one too. But I'm gonna wait a little while, try and get one before the season starts. That way, by the time we get to September 21st, hopefully I'll have it on, or October 5th when the Bucks visit Seattle. Now, I did mention 3 games. The other game will be at home against the Atlanta Falcons Thursday night football on December 11th in Tampa, but they're going to be wearing the creamsicle jerseys. So they'll have 3 throwback games this year, which is pretty cool, actually. That's to celebrate their 50th anniversary. I know for me, I don't mind it. I like the fact maybe going forward you can wear the white jerseys once a year and then the red or the orange creamsicle jerseys once a year as well. Twice a year you have throwback games. Now I hear the complaints about, well, we don't win in them. We've only won 1 game in those throwback jerseys, and other people saying, well, it's, why do we have to remind ourselves of the past? And it wasn't a good time. Yeah, it wasn't the best time, but again, this is the 50th anniversary. This is tradition. It's what the Bucks wore prior to 1996. So, oh well. They're celebrating it, and I'm going to celebrate it. A lot of Bucks fans are going to celebrate it as well. And the ones that, you know, don't feel like celebrating it, okay, that's fine. Do you? But I'll do me, and uh, I'll be proudly wearing this. I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to look cool, especially in that home opener against the Jets. Um, those white and orange number fonts on there, but the Bucko Bruce, the white helmets. I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really eye catching, and it's just going to pop. That orange creamsicle just absolutely pops. Um, Especially nowadays, with HD 4K. Um, you thought in 1976 when color TV was just starting to get good, you thought those orange jerseys were bright then. I mean, now it's like just it just looks so cool. So can't wait to see it, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then the other news that came out with the Bucs, obviously some unfortunate news. Tristan Wirfs, our left tackle, just got a knee procedure done a couple weeks ago. We remember last year he missed a game because of that knee injury. Um, it happened in a game. I forget which game it was, but he ended up missing the next game. But then he came back, and then all off season, everything seemed to be okay. But then recently, Wirfs was wearing a knee brace the entire time he was at, you know, voluntary mini camp. For workouts as well. Didn't really work out with the team. He was seen with a knee brace at practice. So that was unfortunate. And to get the news that he's getting surgery on it and could be put on the PUP list, to start the season. Again, he's not on that list yet. So they're going to, Todd Bowles says they're going to, monitor it, see how it goes, and go from there. Now, there's a possibility he could miss some time. If that's the case and he ends up being on the PUP list, I believe it's like 3 or 4 games he would miss. That is crucial because, that's protecting Baker's blind side. And you're losing probably your best player on the team. And I don't just say best offensive lineman, I'm saying best player on the team because he's at the most important position, which is that left tackle spot that protects Baker Mayfield, that creates the running game. You're going to go with the guy, a backup in Charlie Heck, who is a guy that's been a journeyman. He's had 23 starts. He's played with the Niners, the Cardinals. So if you got to go with him for a few games, it's next man up, and hopefully he can handle that because that's a spot that it's one thing to lose like a Chris Godwin, and that's another thing. Will he be ready in time to start the season? We don't know. It's one thing to lose a Chris Godwin. It's one thing to lose anybody. I mean, it's important, no doubt about it. But when you lose an offensive lineman, especially your left tackle, who's protects your blind side, that's crucial. And that can create a lot of issues, especially if you're going up against great defenses. Now, the first week you got to play Atlanta. Supposedly they improved. I don't see it, but maybe that's my Falcons bias, but you got to watch out for that. Then you play the Houston Texans on Monday Night Football. Last year, that offensive line was horrible for the Texans. Their defense was pretty good still, so they can get to the quarterback. Then you got to play the New York Jets in Week 3. Aaron Glenn, defensive guru. He's going to have that defense better. Then Week 4, you got the Eagles at home, who we know last year. How did they win that Super Bowl? Defense. And they were very good defensively. So having Tristan Wirfs out is a very, very big deal. It just is. If this offensive line, they got to step up. Now, again, we don't know how many games he's going to miss. Hopefully, he misses, like Christopher Cole says right here. Hopefully, Wirfs is a quick healer. We hope so too. But at the same time, we don't want him just to come back and then re-aggravate that injury. That's the last thing we want to do as well. That's our top player. So, It's kind of a conundrum here. It does worry me a little bit, but we're going to monitor it. Like Todd Bowles says, they're going to monitor it. They're going to look at it, see how he's doing before they make any decisions. Hopefully it gets better. Hopefully we don't have to put him on the PUP list. He can maybe miss one game at worst, at best, one game. Or he can come back right away. We don't know. So it is a concern, but at the same time, we're in July 20th. First preseason game's not till August 9th anyway. Obviously, he wasn't going to play, probably wasn't going to play the preseason anyway, but you have over a month. Let's see how it goes. Maybe a month from now, we'll get a better, observation on, better dialysis, or not dialysis, diagnosis on Tristan Wirfs. The Bucs will definitely know what the diagnosis is going to be by that time. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's really all I got to talk about for this episode of Have At It, episode 99. But I just want to get caught up with everybody. It's been a while. Missed you guys. I want to thank Christopher Cole for tuning in on YouTube and anybody else that's watching. Appreciate that as well. And hopefully sometime this week or next week, I'll do another episode. But I will be doing more of these because NFL season's upon us. There's definitely going to be a lot to talk about. And I'll do like a show with predictions and stuff like that. Maybe we'll go division by division, what the prediction is going to be on which teams will make the playoffs or who I think will make the playoffs. We'll see how that plays out. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today, and we will see you next time right here on Have At It. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys later.